Before we begin, hit that subscribe button because every time we upload a new video, somebody out there checks a coin from their drawer and discovers a fortune they never knew existed. Subscribers get that advantage. Today might be your turn. You have lived long enough to see values change, economies rise and fall, and metal that once bought a loaf of bread now shaking international markets. So subscribe, stay alert, because what sits quietly in your hand may be worth more than gold itself. Now let's begin a journey that crosses borders, languages, kings, presidents, lost empires, and silent pieces of metal that refuse to die. People talk about real estate, stocks, oil, technology, but coins have their own pulse, their own mystery, and the thing about coins is simple: they hide in plain sight. They sit in pockets, old biscuit tins, forgotten wallets, and nobody realizes the world has changed around them. But collectors? They are watching. And when global collectors start chasing one piece, that is when ordinary life becomes extraordinary. Maybe right now you are sitting in your home, a calm evening, perhaps retired or about to retire, thinking about making smart decisions. You have seen scams, false promises, fake opportunities, but coins? They do not lie. A coin either exists, or it doesn't. A mint error either exists, or it doesn't. A tiny strike difference, a missing mark, a wrong metal planchet, those are the details that create legends. And legends have value. Think about this. Somewhere in the United States, a man once paid for chewing gum with a coin that later resold for enough money to buy a house. Somewhere in Europe, a simple 50-cent piece from the late 1990s suddenly jumped because the mint produced a fraction fewer than normal. In the Middle East, collectors dig through circulation searching for a specific year that vanished during an economic shift. These are not stories for children, these are decisions made by mature men with experience, knowledge, risk calculation, and patience. When demand meets rarity, the game shifts. Let's talk about a coin from the United States first. Imagine a silver-colored quarter that everyone assumes is pocket change. But think of the wrong metal used at the mint. Think of 1999, state quarters exploding in popularity, people collecting them, freezing them, forgetting them. Decades later, one single variant appears struck on a different metal and suddenly collectors don't care about cents or dollars, they care about possession. Possession of something the mint did not intend. That is how a 25-cent form can trigger bidding that blinds everyone watching. Cross the ocean into Europe. A simple euro coin, minted in the early introduction years, when confusion, excitement, and transition were everywhere. The 20-cent from Spain, the early runs before mass production stabilized, filled with small rim errors. People used them in cafeterias, train stations, gas stations, never imagining future scarcity. Years pass, economic crises come and go, but scarcity remains. A collector in Germany wakes up one morning and wants it. A collector in France wants it too. Demand meets rivalry. And rivalry turns into money. Now let your mind drift toward the Middle East and North Africa. Consider the popular dirham coins. One country pushes new designs, new metals, and circulation replacements. Some short years exist, the mint does smaller production because economies adjust. Some are common, but others vanish because circulation stops within months. Maybe a worker dropped a handful near a construction site. Maybe a merchant swept some coins into a jar that nobody opened again. And now collectors hunt them because population size plus lower mint volume equals scarcity. And scarcity is the backbone of value. Move further into East Africa. Think about Kenyan coins. A 10-shilling coin that once paid for daily supplies, now sitting in drawers as digital payments take over. When circulation stops, physical coins gain power because they represent history. The man who holds history holds bargaining strength. It is no longer about face value, it is about ownership of the timeline. Now look toward Asia. Think of old Indian coins from the 1970s and 1980s that once encouraged agricultural growth, slogans printed on metal. Millions used them, millions ignored them. But a percentage survived untouched. A percentage stayed crisp, sharp, clean. And collectors paid premium for condition. Because metal ages, scratches, wears. If you hold something that survived decades without scars, you have leverage. Same story sits in Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal. Old commemorative coins minted for short periods suddenly command attention because young collectors rise, older collectors expand, international collectors want variety. Coins become cultural passports. And passports have controlled access. Move west again. Think of Canada. A penny that was discontinued, killed off by national policy. The moment production ends, the final surviving pieces suddenly become the end of an era. A man who holds the end of an era holds narrative power. A collector in his 60s does not buy sentiment, he buys rarity. Cross to South America. Think about Brazilian or Argentine coins printed under inflationary tension. Some years were unstable, production altered, design switched. Uncertainty breeds rarity. Rarity breeds demand. Demand breeds value. This is the global truth. Coins are silent witnesses to politics, wars, industrial changes, mint technology, metal shortages, government orders, and public emotions. Some dies crack. Some metals shift. Some mint presses misalign. Some employees make microscopic adjustments. And every solid mistake is worth more than perfection. You, sitting at home, have a lifetime of judgment. You know when something small turns big. You have seen it in property deals, small businesses, retirement investments, inheritance decisions. Coins are no different. The biggest profits arrive when ordinary people overlook opportunity. What if that opportunity already sits in your old belongings? A jar of random change collected over decades. A foreign coin brought by a relative who traveled. A coin given in exchange inside a marketplace during a short business trip. Something you tossed aside because currency conversion was low, but now rarity conversion is high. Collectors do not chase what everyone has. They chase what very few people can provide. And you may be one of the few. Now consider this. Every decade, new collectors enter the market, but old supply does not increase. Mints do not go backward and recreate mistakes. Populations keep rising, but vintage coins do not multiply. That mathematics alone pushes value upward. Your generation understands patience. You have lived through deadlines, responsibilities, economic transitions. You have watched things age and gain worth. Old cars become classics. Old land becomes premium. Old whiskey gains prestige. Old banknotes get locked in protected cases. And coins? They follow the same path. Coins are museums in your pocket. They are negotiations written in metal. A collector pays not for the face value, but for the privilege of ownership. A man pays for pride. A rare coin is not a transaction, it is a trophy. Now picture the highest stakes. International auctions. Silent buyers. Phone bidders. Private vaults. Security escorts. A tiny piece of metal placed under a spotlight while wealthy competitors raise paddles. That is the stage rare coins play on. A tiny object dictating large decisions. And here is the part most people never understand: the coin becomes powerful when scarcity meets obsession. A man in America wants it. A man in Spain wants it. A collector in Qatar wants it. The bidding moves like a storm. Money stops being logical. It becomes emotional. The object becomes identity. When identity takes control, value explodes. Which brings us to the ultimate conclusion. Somewhere out there, a single coin representing the height of rarity, wrong metal, short production, preserved condition, fierce demand has already broken the psychological ceiling. What was once a few $100s turned into thousands. Thousands multiplied into six figures. And six figures escalated into a number that silences a room. That is how a mixed country coin narrative ends today. Because collectors are battling for the most elusive pieces. And in the highest corners of that market, one rare coin has struck a figure that shocks even seasoned investors. The price whispered in auctions, demanded through private deals, finalized with documentation, crosses beyond normal expectations, beyond reasonable valuation, beyond standard wealth measurement. It pushes into the level of generational fortune.